Part 2 of our interview with Earl Green from thelogbook.com, published author, raconteur, jack of all trades, father to a very energetic son. And as we left off, you were talking about thelogbook.com and the series that have been chronicled, and how after you were done with those, there was a video game book in the works, from the old to the new, from the perspective of somebody who lived through the ages.
The thing is, it's our generation. You know, I was born the same year as the video game industry proper. Odyssey.
Yeah, we grew as the industry grew, you know. Yeah. We saw Atari and television, Nintendo, Sega, we saw it all come along.
And that's really, you know, all of the applications that have come along with that, you know, with graphics, sound, computer power, and stuff. You know, in our lifetimes we've gone from
blocky pixels
to big bloopy pixels that aren't even computer generated to photorealism and stuff going on all over the place. So it's you know, talk about seeing the whole industry from one end to the next, and you know, sort of how everything else has changed around that. Some things change more than others. Well, why don't you have a seat over there away from the music? Go sit on the green roll around. Anyway. And at some point, there's a web series project that I'm hoping to pursue. So everything comes together for that. That gets a little bit more expensive than writing books, because then we're talking about shooting video, doing production. But it's an interesting idea, and it's related in a way to the podcast that please do not hear that. Sorry.
That's all right.
I do a daily podcast, which is sort of like Today in Geek History, and it's about 5 to 10 minutes. And it's one of those things where I arrive at the idea of doing a 5 to 10 minute podcast, because for some reason, when I keep fathom, that's all I really have time to do. It's anyone's guess as to what is consuming my time. But the web series that I'm working on is related to that tangentially. And, you know, hopefully I'm just want to conquer all media, basically. And, but next year, the basic material of the site will have been around for 25 years. And that's an awful long time to be claiming to have been on the web.
Yeah. Oh, trust me,
anywhere.
I understand, because I try to explain to people dial-up BBS and Telnet and internet chat rooms, and they're like Facebook and Tumblr. They don't understand. It's totally different.
Is this like a forum somewhere? It's like, yeah, that was all there was to it.
Yeah.
But
I try to tell people the internet used to be all text, and they don't understand. They don't get where, you know, an internet without audio and video and pictures.
Yeah, and ANSI graphics. You know,
character art.
The bomb, man. If you could do good ANSI graphics, that was...
Oh, I had an electronic newsletter where I had people draw the signature of the newsletter in character art. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you were Michelangelo if you could handle ANSI back in the day. And nowadays, it's just one of those things that screams retro the moment you see it.
And no pun intended, it's a lost art now, because people don't know how to do it anymore. There are very few people who can create ANSI art now.
Right. And there's so few. It used to be an almost universal character set. Now, not so much.
Yeah.
So.
But that's the things you're chronicling as time goes on. You're covering all these events that, you know, it's personal, but it's also historical, because people will be able to understand better where gaming and the internet culture that we have today came from, and how those things, they used to be related, and then they converged as gaming went online and became a part of the daily life. Because now it's also one of the changing of the waves of the changes that we've seen is that you used to buy consoles and just play games or invite your friends over to play games, and now it's all about the online multiplayer gaming.
Right. And well, I mean, you used to have games that had no single player mode and no AI. And because the base assumption, and you know, it's really sort of a sociology experiment. You know, the base assumption was that you were going to have another person there to play with. Because you know, it was probably going to be standing in for that night's game of poker or something. Because you were going to fire up the Atari, fire up a hot game of Pong.
Yeah.
On game night, because game night was this thing that was already going on with or without the technology.
Yeah, just like basketball. There's no one-player mode for that. You got to have an opponent to play against you in 2600. You got to, otherwise you have to push both buttons yourself. And what fun is that?
And you know, also when there's a lot of history of growing up on BBSs. I was on Baltimore Hastings in grade school, and I would try to explain to people what this was, what a modem was, and why anyone would bother doing any of this. And people just sort of stare at you. It's kind of weird because this was before AOL.
Yeah, like I said before, dial-up, when you had to get on with a modem and get to it.
Revelation about social media and how it's affecting people. It's been going on longer than social media.
What's a pie?
And longer than the internet.
Yeah. Newsgroup posts were the original social media because you said something and it went around the world and everybody read it. It was pre-Twitter.
But BBSs, they were almost...
There's a word that says danger, high voltage.
You probably don't want to touch that one then. Yeah, stay away from that one.
How come?
If it says danger, it means it's bad for you. So don't touch anything that says danger.
Danger's bad.
Why does danger mean something is bad happening?
Because it's warning you to be careful. If you'll be careful, it probably won't get hurt.
But if you don't be careful, you'll get exploded.
You get exploded, yes. Boom. Boom, explosion.
I'm sure this is an iPhone.
Oh, this is the show right here.
But yeah, the BBS was very good with Facebook because it said something stupid. You were saying it, you know, local people could see it. And, you know, you teased about the next time you saw it, you know, go and make a jerk of yourself on the BBS there. And so there really is, it's sort of like protests about violence in video games. There's nothing. It's existed, you know, it's existed in one form, one way or another.
Yeah, cyberbullying has been around since there was online messages, you know.
Exactly. And so, you know, everyone's worried about, you know, how their kids are going to turn out because they've been on social media. Here I am.
Yeah.
I'm largely okay.
Yeah, I think we did fine for growing up in the internet world. We turned out all right.
And
Some of us even turned out to be fathers.
yes, exactly.
I'm still working on that proposition myself.
Good luck. Really.
As Rebecca Stagg said earlier, it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, that's where most of mine is gone. So, anyway, yeah, if anyone wonders where why my book schedule is slim, that's a lot to do with where the time is.
But speaking of personal experiences, we've talked about all these things you've written and all the things that are on the logbook, but you've also got a personal blog on there. You've got your own scribblings, as they were.
Yes, and a lot of that is where his adventures wind up, and other silly things that we see. I have one kid, I have 5 cats, I have 2 Rottweilers.
Which means dogs.
All living under the same roof.
We need a basket for him to shoot it into.
Yeah.
Turn it into a game.
Well, actually, we're in the right place for that. Just go out for the building.
That's true. Yes, and for those who didn't hear or I didn't put a caption at the beginning, we are at the Oklahoma Video Gaming Expo at the Spirit Bank Energy Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That is where this is all taking place. And as you can hear in the background, every time he opens the door, there's a live band outside right now. The One-Ups are performing for our entertainment, playing a selection of video game inspired, video game remixed music. And you can hear the enthusiastic applause of the crowd out there. So, to wrap this up, Earl, anything else you want to say about the logbook, about your books, about where people can find stuff, you know, how they can get it?
Everything can be found at thelogbook.com. We've got a very small forum, which is I would describe it as a cross between
Keep smacking my head.
your average science fiction and video game forum mixed with grumpy old men. And but the heart of the site has always been the content in the various sections, the TV section, the game section. 2015, I will have been covering video games for 20 years. And so it goes on and on.
And the beat goes on.
Rather like him.
He goes on and on.
I need to enlist his expertise in taking over some of this.
If we could harness the energy in him, we could power this entire event center all by itself.
No kidding, just need a big hamster wheel. I think I haven't thought of it either.
I'm sure you have. But as of course you said, everything's at thelogbook.com, but you can also get the books, not just from the site, you can also get them through Amazon, right?
Yes. The logbook has not only the links to the books, but also the news on how the next book is coming, when it might be released, that sort of thing. Look at the covers. And there's also a Facebook fan page for the logbook, and I'm on Twitter as Logbook Guy.
All right, that's everything you need to know. This has been Earl Green here with Steve Jewin, a.k.a. the Mega Man Fan, bringing you a very rambunctious interview.